Greetings. So, I honestly don't know if this is gonna be a good video or a bad video. I guess kind of depends on what you determine a good video or a bad video to look like. But I think the point of this video is gonna be to encourage people who believe in God to question why they believe in God, and for people who don't believe in God to question why they don't believe in God. Now, this is going to be kind of controversial, but I strongly believe that there is no way that there isn't a God. I mean, I could obviously give you the general proofs. I could give you, oh, look at the nature, look at the way everything is structured, our own bodies, how muscles work, how I mean, I don't really have any muscles, but how muscles work, how hair grows. Everything is so perfect, everything is so specific. Look at how God worked through history, look at how etc., etc., you get the point. But I want to actually dig into motives. I am a person that really likes to question motives and things like that. So I like to go and ask myself, why? Okay, good answer. Why is that? Good answer. Why is that? So before I do that, I want to backtrack to about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, where it's kind of the mark where I started to believe in God or start taking Him seriously. I always believed in God, but didn't really try to get to know Him. But that was the time where I finally decided to take that step and do so. So I remember it all started because I had a conversation with my friend, and he was trying to help me deal with stress that I was experiencing from a business that I was doing, like an online guru business, the ones that get promoted nowadays. It's like an SMMA or something. And I realized that there are some people in this world that are able to rely their anxiety, rely their stresses on a source. And that source is none other than God. Now, to people who are like me, who, you know, like to think within their motives, like to go deep inside their beliefs and things like that, I know that those people would definitely be telling me right now, Nick, that is kind of a bad motive. I agree. I pretty much, for the first year of my journey, used God as a tool for my benefit. And makes kind of sense. It does make a little bit of sense because I used to do self-improvement. I had very strong beliefs in discipline. As I said, I had an online business, so I had to be very strict with that. And in general, I just did a bunch of things like meditation, blah blah blah. You get the point. I sort of found a hard time to transfer from self-improvement to Christianity. And so those kind of stuck together, I guess you could say. And it's a good and a bad motive, but all in all, the reason why I believed in God was because He benefited me. Now, there's also other things like, for example, I'm a very logical person. I'm considered a blue, according to a book called Surrounded by Idiots. A blue person is somebody who's quiet, who is introverted, so therefore they're always in their thoughts. As I said, I'm always going deep inside my motives. And somebody who strongly believes in the motive of everything has to be 100% or it's nothing. If it's not good enough, then it's not good enough. It has to be 100%. But here's the thing, when it comes to belief in God, I don't believe that there is 100%. Sorry, I don't believe that there is a 100%. I don't think we can know that God is 100% real. And at the same time, I also believe that we can 100% know that God isn't real. And I've seen evidences on both sides. I've seen things like the archaeological evidence of the Exodus doesn't exist. And then over here, I've seen the archaeological evidence of Sodom and Gomorrah, of sulfur raining down and taking down cities. It exists. We saw the sulfur. And then I see little proofs like, look at the miracle of the Bible, how it's still standing today, how it's tried to get trashed out by history. And the other side saying, well, the Bible is actually contradictory because this, that. And I'm like, bro, what the frick do I believe in? I sort of get into this lukewarm position. And a lukewarm, I guess, Christian is somebody who is a useless Christian. Somebody who not necessarily doesn't share the gospel or whatever, but just doesn't really live it. Which is, honestly, to me, one of the most important things. So I get cramped up in this position because I'm a very open person. I look at both sides, and I don't know what to believe in. And it really brings me down to one thing. Having to choose which side I believe in. I think even the Bible itself says being in the lukewarm position is worse than not following the truth. And obviously following the truth. So I had to choose. And obviously I looked at the evidences. It made some nice sense. There's manuscripts, there's great historical records, but at the same time, maybe those could have been twisted, altered. But then I also looked at, just in general, my life, and how much it has changed over that year. So I guess this position that I'm talking about has been already a year into my journey. I realized that God is very patient. That God actually knew that I was using him for my own benefit. But he still loved me, and he still cared for me. He still provided. And I still strongly believe that he was there with me. And he was. And then obviously I looked at more outward things like I saw things like like someone's ankle getting healed. Literally they were limping, and then out of nowhere, after getting prayed for, they could start doing backflips again. I've seen someone who was deaf finally hear again. Maybe they could have lied, I don't know, but I strongly believe that was true. They were crying, they were passionate about it. But obviously it's not always about healings, it's not always about this, that, the outward appearances, but it's more about looking at the experiences of your life and then be like, wow, like, how can all of this happen without a God? And so the reason why I believe in God is, in the beginning, it was because God benefits me. And to be honest, I still have that motive here and there. I'm a human. I'm always going to have some selfish motives behind even good motives. But I believe in God because I chose to believe in God. And the reason why I chose him, and I thought about it very deeply, and came to the conclusion that the least selfish motive to why I choose to believe in God is because he wants us to believe in him. And it's not for his personal gain or anything. God doesn't gain anything from us believing in him and worshiping him and all that. He's God. Why does he need a mere little small human being to worship him? He understands it's a one-way relationship, but he wants that for us. He wants us to get the benefits only. And so I really believe that I've changed my motive to not because I want to receive the benefits, not because I want to believe in God, but because God wants me to believe in him. I'm doing exactly what God desires. And that's accepting salvation. Accepting the fact that Jesus Christ died on the cross for all of us. Yes, Christ died for the unbelievers as well. He loves unbelievers. Maybe the love between believers and unbelievers could be different, because believers are actually trying to strive and do this, that. I honestly don't know the question, to the answer to that question. I'll actually look at it after this video. It's an interesting question, but all I know is that I do believe Christ died, and I obviously will still have doubts. I obviously still have thoughts telling me about things like, oh, the religion is just a thing that the elites are distracting us with, or religion is just a thing that human need for them to get more power. Maybe. But am I willing to risk it? Yeah. I am. Because if there is a God out there, and I'm doing what he desires, then not only is that what's best for me, but that's having a relationship with him. You're giving him what he wants. And maybe I could be wrong about all of this. Please tell me if I'm wrong about this. This whole YouTube channel is about fixing my flawed opinions or my unflawed opinions. So I'm open for constructive criticism, but this is what I believe. And I really hope that this video encourages people to kind of go deeper and deeper and deeper into things like motives, into things like why they believe this, why they believe that. And it's not even just about God at this point, about anything. So, yeah. I really hope this somehow helped. But all in all, I choose to believe in God. And there is no way. I could tell you many experiences in my life. And from that, and from other things, I want to conclude that there is no way that God is not real. No way.